So I like that he kind of gave out what his plan was to kind of get us reminisced about like what's to come. I mean, hey, Superman and Lois Lane's like kid's gonna be the new Batman. I mean, he dropped that hint. Then he dropped like you know what all future storylines. I mean,
Batman's gonna die.
Yeah, like you know, he knows that this fan base is rabid, and he knows that right now with it being you know such a hit, he could direct these people. He could attack them. He could like set these attack dogs on the studio and all that. So yeah, man.
Gang of parademon fans after.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like screeching. I'm screeching at Warner Brothers after this. Snyder Cut. Release the Snyder Cut. It's finally here.
This is what we're waiting for.
3 years in the making.
So what's the big deal? I guess we're going to find out, huh?
Oh, there's plenty big deals here, buddy.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? What's up, guys?
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back.
Another nightcap.
Can't wait for this one.
In case this is your first time watching the show, what's up, everybody? My name's Steve. Joined by Al and Rich. Rich is the good-looking one. And welcome to the nightcap. Man, so much anticipated. Snyder
man.
I hope everyone watched our video from last week, right? Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah, and then now is the big event. The biggest comic event for quite some time. It feels like during this pandemic.
Yeah,
you know, an event so big, we had to get the whole gang back together again.
Got to get the whole band back together.
Welcome back, Rich, by the way.
There he is.
Good to be back.
Man, but yeah, like we were saying, much anticipated. The people have spoken, all right?
Oh, and, the fandom.
The prom king is Zack Snyder. It's not Josh Whedon, all right?
Don't get me started on that guy already.
Yeah, we got plenty of time, so we're not going to rush in. But what are you guys drinking on tonight before we get deeper into this movie?
My old friend Jack again. Can't go wrong with that.
All right, American classic.
I'm drinking some Jameson and coffee.
Can't go wrong with that too.
Me too. A little Jameson cold brew right now.
Okay,
so,
I guess
I know I need to be energized. I need to be juiced tonight. I know we talked about it last week. Man, the DC universe in general has just been so controversial. So many ups and downs, more downs than ups.
More downs than ups.
I mean, everyone knows the controversy surrounding the Snyder Cut. Obviously, you know, Zack Snyder started the project, was unable to finish it, handed it off to Josh Whedon. It was very disappointing, kind of for me. I don't know if I think I thought it the first time and I didn't go back and rewatch it. You know, it became like this mythical thing, the Snyder Cut, and the people spoke, let their voices be heard, and well, I'll be damned. The studios actually listened.
The fandom for things like this, comics, you know, superhero movies, they're strong. For franchises, they are strong, and they'll listen. You know, with Twitter and the hashtags, you know, you could almost get anything done. So, and then thankfully this one got done, but it could also be kind of toxic as well. But at least for this one, fortunately, it got it done, right?
Well, what's just impressive is the fact that they actually gave him money to redo a movie that was completed. When has that happened? I mean, other than
unprecedented.
Like, this is not just a reboot; it's a taking a part of the original film and putting it back together the way he wanted it. Like.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because it's not like it was like the Snyder Cut was sitting in a vault and then he just kind of had to just polish some things up. No, it was like, I forgot how many, like 300 plus scenes of like unfinished like special effects. Then they had to reshoot some stuff and like bring in some of the actors back. So it was a big undertaking. It's not like, you know, it was just sitting in the Warner Brothers lot and then you go, all right, just dust it off and like release it. No, it wasn't like that. From what I read, it was anywhere from $30 to $70 million that they gave him in order to refinish this his vision.
I think it was 70.
I think it was 70, yeah. And let's talk about just this whole thing too. I mean, being on HBO Max, it's right now we're in such a weird time. Obviously, with the COVID lockdown, people are consuming movies at home. You know, streaming at home. It's a much different atmosphere and a much different experience. I enjoy going to the theaters, but for something like this. I think this is kind of a game changer, guys. I don't know. I mean, because I don't think you could get a 4 hour Snyder cut in the theaters. I mean,
Yeah.
there's logistical problems already as far as the movie theaters. They need to play so many showings per day to make their money back. And then obviously as a fan, that's a big commitment to be out of the house. 4 to 5 hours going to see this movie, sitting in a chair. You're probably gonna need an intermission, but
there's no pause button where you have to go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? That's what's
Yeah.
great about being at home. If you're hungry or need to do something, pause the
Although,
movie. Come right back.
I will mention it was 4 hours, but to me it went by quick.
I agree with you. It went by pretty quick.
It moved well, yeah. I mean, I like the way he broke it up in chapters. So if you wanted to, if I go back and rewatch it, I can, watch it in pieces. Sometimes I like to do that, especially with longer movies, and this is a long movie. So I can definitely enjoy that. But yeah, to me, like I said, I think there's a Rubicon that we cross here that it really opens the door for future projects if they want to tackle something like this. Maybe it's like in between a miniseries and a movie, and if you're streaming it at home, it's actually very practical to do it, and it actually worked out well. So it was pretty cool. But let's talk about, now that the Snyder Cut's out, we've obviously seen it. How have you guys' feelings changed as far as the DC universe so far?
Oh, I'll start it off. # restore the Snyder-verse. It redeemed itself. It wiped the memory of that atrocity that was Whedon's Justice League. Absolutely.
Much maligned. Rich?
It brought back, I'm going to bring back to the Man of Steel. Like, my biggest complaint from that movie with Zack Snyder doing it was they were he just made them look like gods fighting gods. But now that I saw Justice League, it made sense, because to me, his whole vision was like, these are gods among men now. You know what I mean? And in the Snyder Cut, he portrayed that. And it made me respect Man of Steel a little bit more, because that was the start of his vision of where he was headed. So, I mean, I'm with Al. Bring back the Snyderverse.
What's just kind of funny to think about too is that almost in a weird way, we almost owe Josh Whedon for this, because if he hadn't so underperformed, would we have ever gotten this movie to begin with? Would they have ever gotten the chance, and the hype behind it? And I think if, say, Zack Snyder would have carried on the original project, there's pretty little to no chance we would have gotten the 4 hour version.
Absolutely.
Maybe DVD to follow.
Yeah.
But most likely we would have gotten something still watered down and cut down. And so after the whole Whedon debacle, it kind of enabled the studios to indulge us on this stuff.
Absolutely. Because Zack Snyder already said in a lot of his interviews, before he even left, they already were kind of not forcing him, but kind of pushing him to make it to a 2 hour movie. And he was like, okay, I mean, I could do it, but it's not going to be like, the vision that I intended. So, and then it was a whole lot of circumstances in order to get this made. And then obviously even the pandemic, kind of helped in a way to get this, with the HBO Max launching, they needed like a big get for its launch. And then what bigger get? Hey, let's bring in all like this rabid fan base that's been saying release the Snyder Cut for the past 3 years. Hey, guess what? Here you go. We're throwing you a bone. Come get it. And they got me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Let's talk about the movie in a little more depth right now too. In terms of, before we get into our full breakdown, and that's something we definitely like to do here at the Nightcap. We like to get into a full movie review and breakdown with grading and everything. But before we dive into the plot, what was your guys's? What was the thing that exceeded your expectations the most? What stood out to you the most? And then conversely, what maybe, even though obviously I think we're all jazzed for it, what we were still kind of iffy on?
Oh, geez. What stood out the most was, I hate to like get into the meat of this already, but the whole thing, I wanted to temper my expectations, because my expectations were for Batman with Superman was very high, and then it got, came crashing down to earth, right? So this one, I tempered my expectations, and it exceeded it by far. It exceeded so much. I watched this almost back to back, 2 showings, 8 hours of the Snyder Cut. So
hours.
And then also, but then, like I said, it is 4 hours. My only gripe, it could maybe kind of thinned it out a little bit to maybe dip below the 4 hour mark. But other than that, I really have no complaints about this movie.
Rich?
What stood out for me the most with this cut was Snyder's overall vision and the storytelling of where he wanted to take it. That idea alone, I know it's been done in the comics though, but to see the movie done in almost a mature adult fashion, because people were getting cut in half. There was blood. It was definitely not Josh Whedon's family version of the movie with the comedy with the little laughs here and there. His vision of what,
and much different comparative to the Avengers, right?
And
absolutely.
But his vision is just amazing. I mean, and the other thing that stood out, Cyborg story. Josh Fisher, he did really well compared to the original version.
Ray Fisher.
Ray Fisher.
Ray Fisher, my bad.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no, now for me, I haven't gone back and rewatched Justice League since I saw it originally because I was so disappointed in it. You guys watched the original version recently, right?
Yes, I took the bullet for you guys. I watched that affront to God that was the Whedon version. And honestly, it was even worse than I remembered. There you go, Whedon.
I watched it too. I actually watched it 2 days ago. It's not a great movie, but it's not like I'm gonna take it out on the street and piss on it and never want to see it again type of movie. for like what it was, for the tragedy that happened with Snyder, and for Whedon to actually come in and take that on just to finish a movie. I mean, it may not just be Whedon, it could be studio pressure too, because you can see the direction after the Whedon version where they took the DC universe. I mean, Aquaman's a little more lighthearted. Wonder Woman took this other kind of spin too, where there's a little bit of comedy involved. It almost followed that Whedon path, but is that a Whedon choice of putting the movie together, or is it a studio with a little bit of studio pressure too?
Everything bad about the original Justice League was Whedon's fault.
Has it been confirmed that Josh Whedon is not Darkseid?
I didn't want to mention this, but apparently the thing that we learned the most about the Snyder Cut version is that the biggest villain is Whedon. That's not
and only Superman could defeat him, or Snyder dressed as Superman. I don't know. I digress.
Is that a metaphor?
All right. Well, let's get into our full breakdown, guys. We're going to put up the grading breakdown right now. This is your first time to the show. This just shows how we just break down by category when we grade a film. So feel free to follow along. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Also, leave your comments below. Let us know what you guys think. If you guys have any other anything to add, or you disagree with us on anything, we'd love to hear you guys' feedback. But let's go ahead and break down into the plot. So, Al, what did you give it in terms of plot? I mean, this is a massive story here.
Oh, absolutely. But before we get into the plot, let me chill, and hopefully you guys start following our new Instagram page at the.night.cap.
Ring that bell. There you go.
So anyway, back to the plot. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's very straightforward. It's quintessentially the same plot as the original Justice League. The death cry of Superman from Batman versus Superman pretty much awakened the Mother Box in order to, call on Steppenwolf. There's no more protector for Earth. Come on over and invade it, right? And then Batman has to recruit a team of meta-humans in order to fight this invasion. So very straightforward, 7 out of 10. Definitely the first from the original Justice League in terms of just how it was told, and then I'm sure we'll get to that later.
Yeah. How about you, Rich?
I actually gave it a 9, and I mean, Al, right? The plot is very simple, but what this version brought, and the reason why I'm bringing it up to a 9, which is a pretty high score for even myself, is the backstory development that was actually done within the plot. I mean, we got to see Cyborg's backstory, why he hates his father. I mean, another cool thing, we got to see the Amazon tribe. You know what I mean? That actually came out in this version. That came out more like a mythology, like an old tribe. You know what I mean? A very old legend. So the backstory that built up for every character and where it was headed, that's why I gave it up to. That's why I brought it up to a 9. Great.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of right there between you guys. I give it an 8. It's not hyper complex, but he does tackle a lot, and just the scope of it in general in the 4 hours and keeping someone entertained for 4 hours. I think that's not something easy to do for most of these modern movies. And I think he did it. I think he pulled it off. There's a lot of characters here. And I think he needed that larger scale to kind of tell the stories and get you engaged. I will say, the Flash's character, that whole scene where he's doing the whole job interview thing, and the girl definitely felt a little rushed in there. I mean, we never see that character again. We never meet her again. I don't know if she's going to show up later again in the Flash movie. Possibly she is.
She is. That was actually Isis West.
So, okay, there you go. So, But in terms of the actual movie itself, I liked it. I like the way he combined it all, and I think we just see too the difference is pretty drastic from the original version. In this one,
Hmm.
here you're much more engaged. Let's get into the production, and Zack Snyder, he's kind of a genre of his own, right? Out.
Oh, absolutely. Let's start this off right. 20 out of 20 for production. The 300 Watchmen Zack Snyder is back. It's with the dark tones, the color palette, the color saturation. It's all there. It hell all the scenes with the Amazons on their island almost looks like they could have been from 300. I was just half expecting Leonidas to come out during the battle scenes there, and so pretty much it's a gorgeous looking movie. Gone is the Whedon's glossy, bright, color popping, almost Marvel-esque look of the original Justice League, because honestly that did not fit the characters, it didn't fit this story, it didn't suit this universe at all. So that's gone. And yeah, it's a gorgeous movie. Can we talk about the glow up of Steppenwolf with his shiny new suit, very spiky, and he looks way more menacing than the Whedon version. He has traps, he is really
I like the way his armor
now.
would like click and kind of mold and change,
Yeah.
right? Like some kind of like nanotechnology. He was almost like a Predator-esque, if you will, like just his whole persona. And then
I definitely like also like in terms of not production, but you also kind of got some character development from Steppenwolf too. You kind of found out that he got exiled, he betrayed Darkseid, so now he's trying to get back into his good graces. And yeah, and also thankfully he's not saying mother every other word in the Snyder cut like how he was in Justice League.
Rich?
Well, it's hard to follow that. He hit every point. But I give it a 17. Not a perfect score, but I did give it a 17. There was a couple things. One, I hate to bring this up, the 4.3 format. I understand why he did it. I totally get why he did it. I don't like it. I never went my cup of tea for movies. I mean, it makes me feel like I'm in the 80s almost again, 90s. Other than that, the movie was done it's great. It's a very dark tone to it. You know what I mean? His production level of restoring what the Whedon version was and able to pull that off, I'll give it a 17. He did a really great job. And like you guys said, Steppenwolf's armor, the shifting armor where it just shifts and kind of molds with his emotion, is pretty badass. His facelift, way better than the Josh Whedon version. I mean, he looked like a crazy manic guy with some weird armor in Josh Whedon's version, but this one he actually looked like an alien. You know what I mean? Especially when his armor comes off and you see him, he kind of looks like a dragon. I thought it was cool. But yeah, production, I don't really have much to say other than it was done great. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, well, I give it a 19. I couldn't give it a perfect score, but I definitely enjoyed it. And Zack Snyder's style is obviously really readily apparent right from the get-go. Every scene is just set up like almost like a painting or something. Like a poster in and of itself. The way he uses lighting and green screens and everything to kind of highlight everything, and also too, just the action sequences are pretty awesome. Even the opening one of the opening scenes with Gal Gadot in that school where she rescues those girls. And like the way he's doing the playing with the motion there, and she's speeding up and going past subsonic speeds or supersonic speeds, I should say, and stopping the bullets and everything like that. Like just a lot of cool tricks that he does. He really just digs into the whole bag of tricks and just lets them all out and really doesn't hold anything back. Also, too, just the CG. I'm pretty critical of CG these days because there's so much bad CG out there and such an easy way out for directors, but most of it looked pretty good to me. One thing I liked too was when Steppenwolf would talk to those what was the priest guy's name?
Desaad.
And he was like, they would appear like in that that molten rock, right, with like lava just kind of dripping out. It just looked really cool. I love the effect that they did on that. And I also liked the Nightcrawler too. The Batman had in that scene where they're in the tunnel and the water's rushing in, and you see this giant mechanical like spider crawling out. It just there's so much spectacle in this movie, and it looks good. All of it looks great till the very end when we get to see Martian Manhunter at the end show up on Bruce Wayne's pretty cool place he has there. So yeah, the movie looks fantastic. If there's one thing I'm kind of annoyed by is just the kind of typical CG. Bad guys, the parademons. They're kind of just these kind of mindless drones. I don't know. For me, they always just it's kind of boring for me. I wish they would use like a little bit more of like live action actors on that stuff, just to kind of give it a little more personality. But that's really the only thing that keeps it back from giving it a perfect score.
Yeah, actually, I like the parademons. I like that they were uniform in terms of how they looked, because they were all just previously conquered planets. Their citizens that became, when they became conquered, they became parademons. So of course they all look uniform. They all look the same, but they were all still very well done.
Yeah, it's a minor gripe against it. But let's go ahead and get into the acting. Rich, why don't you kick it off in terms of the performances? What did you like best?
What I liked best was actually Ben Affleck. I think would have been made a damn good Batman all the way to the end. I actually gave acting overall a 22. Only it's a little low, but the Flash's character kind of annoyed me throughout the movie. I actually thought Whedon captured his character a little bit better in his version. And there was a couple times where, I hate to even say this, Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, how you say her last name is? A couple of her lines just fell short. Just seemed really flat through a couple of the movies. When they're talking in the Batcave, fell just flat, not really kind of delivered.
A little bit. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, just a little bit. Other than that, though, I thought everybody did a great job. I mean, Cyborg's character, actually seeing more acting out of him was great. I mean, but those are my two gripes. Those are my gripes that brought it down just a little bit.
Al, what'd you give it in terms of score for the acting?
I mean, it's not going to win any Oscars by any means, but I still gave it a 23 out of 30. Obviously, we could talk about Ben Affleck as Batman. And you know me, when he got cast as Batman, we talked about this in the Batman vs Superman episode. I was up in arms, but I was wrong. I was wrong about that, and he actually became one of my favorite Batman behind Christian Bale. And thankfully, in this this Snyder Cut version, they didn't make him out to be a joke. This is the Batman, the Batflick that we deserved in regards to this universe. And then, and honestly, I'm gonna disagree with Rich here, Miller, the Flash's character. I like that they didn't play him off strictly as comic relief, how the god awful Whedon version was portraying him out to be. Yeah, he's still the lighter like kind of comedy guy here, but not as heavy handed as it was in the Whedon. I mean, dude, this guy literally saved everybody by going back in time, reversing time, in order to not let the Justice League become defeated. But, and then, you still got Godot, Cavill, and Mr. Cool Guy, Jason Momoa. But the heart of this movie was Fisher, was Cyborg. And Zack Snyder actually said that more than a few times in a lot of interviews, that this vision, that almost the main character was Cyborg. And you saw that in the Snyder Cut, because you got so much more of his backstory with his dad, and then he was an integral part in defeating Steppenwolf by being one with the Unity also.
Yeah, no, I think Cyborg's character was really interesting, and he's a character that I really don't know much of. I'm not a hardcore comic fan, so as far as from the comics, I don't really know anything about the character. So this was really kind of my first experience with him in Justice League, and I thought his story was actually really compelling, and he had some of the more dramatic parts, and I thought he did a really good job. Like you said, he's very integral in terms of the story, and knowing that he, is basically spawned out of the, these, I'm sorry, what do you call them again? The mother
boxes.
The mother boxes. At least it makes a little bit of sense in terms of, how he's able to do that. He's not just some punk hacker that's somehow able to tap into alien technology. But yeah, I thought he did a really good job, and all the characters in general, they had a pretty good chemistry together. Like you said, with Jason Momoa as kind of the cool guy, Ben Affleck is kind of the leader. Obviously Superman, he's kind of stands alone. Gal Gadot, obviously he's kind of more of the heart of the group, kind of recruiting the Flash's character and Cyborg's character as well too. So I know, I thought they had a pretty good little grouping there. I'm worried if they were to keep going, if they keep interjecting more characters, if it's going to get overly bloated, kind of like the way the Avengers did, at least for me. I kind of like the size that it's at right now, but yeah, you're right. And Flash, all the characters had their time to shine, and Flash especially towards the end there, he does so much to really make it all work. But they all had their little niche, and it all worked well. It was all balanced well. But let's go ahead and get into the directing right now.
Man, the magnum opus for Zack Snyder. I don't even know where to begin. I gave the directing 27 out of 30. it's God. It's hard to me. All right, first of all, it's addition by subtraction. All the failed, forced attempts at humor from the awful Whedon version gone. The corny one-liners gone. The useless subplot of the family in the base of Steppenwolf gone. It's funny. It's funny how this movie seems more streamlined, even though it's double the length of the Whedon version. The gosh, it's so much more fleshed out. The 4 hours gave it more fleshed out. That's why it's so much less. It's less jumbled than the Whedon cut. There was scenes in the Whedon cut that you really didn't know what the heck was going on, like as if an integral part of that scene was missing. Well, guess what? They were, and they were all in the Snyder cut. So yeah, 27 out of 30 definitely redeemed. This version was definitely redeeming in my eyes.
Yeah, I ended up giving it 26 out of 30 for a lot of the things you touched on. I really just admire him juggling all of this and putting this all together and actually exceeding, at least for me, expectations. We were going into this, we were talking last week, we're like, how is this really going to live up to it? How's it really going to, because expectations were so high and we know it's still based off the same framework as the first movie. I'm like, how is this really, I don't want to get my hopes up too high. But you know what? He pulled it off and it was actually better than I anticipated. And even for the length, like you said, Al, he moved at a good pace. I was entertained the whole time. He manages to get all the characters engaged. I really tip my hat to Snyder. And I think like a lot of people, I'm kind of like thinking to myself, I'm like, how can we leave it here? You know what I mean? This was such a success.
Yeah.
I really hope that we get another one. And also kind of reading some of the backstory about where he plans to take this universe. It's very intriguing. I would like to see him to continue and really push this story to its end. But what about you, Rich? What'd you give it in terms of directing?
I gave him a 28. I thought he did a great job. I mean, this was his vision. I mean, but I got to bring it back though too to what you said in the very beginning. I don't think this would have happened and it would have been this great of a story if it wasn't for where we are now, like with the COVID and everything. I mean, what made this really great too in directing is he had enough time to actually develop character like stories, you know what I mean, and actually get the audience invested into it. Like you said, the other versions are so short they seem pieced together. This it felt like he allowed the story to develop naturally where he wanted to take it, and I think great job. I mean, I don't want to see the other 4-hour movies, don't get me wrong. I don't want to see that becoming a trend. That's a big commitment. But it was great. His vision, and I total nerd here, I love his vision of gods among men. These are gods fighting like amongst each other, and it's like mythical. It's amazing. It's like he takes old mythology and makes it new again, but puts the DC universe faces on it.
Yeah, and he handles it well in this universe, this DC universe. So it would just be so weird to see it kind of at its final fruition to kind of just go away. So yeah, definitely would be disappointing. Before we get into X Factor, let's talk about just like characters in general. Who was your guys' favorite character of this group? This whole franchise here.
Favorite character? Oh man, that's kind of tough. I'm gonna have to circle back around to Batman, just because I was so critical when I first heard of Ben Affleck being cast as Batman, and then for him to redeem himself, at least in my eyes, in Batman versus Superman and the Snyder cut version, and also thankfully we're still gonna see him in the Flash movie as well. That's gonna be his last movie as Batman, and so that's gonna be my favorite character, just because I always liked the Batman character, and also just because like I said, I was so critical, and then for him to prove me wrong, hey, I'll eat crow,
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Rich?
I was gonna say Batman too because he's my childhood favorite, but in all honesty, it was Cyborg for me this time around. His story really stood out for me. Just like you guys said, he turned out to be the real hero of the story, like the main hero of this story. Don't get me wrong, they're all heroes, but it seemed like it was his. He was so integral. It's like none of that would have happened if he wasn't there. So
yeah, his character arc was the longest. I agree. Yeah, I'm gonna echo you. I think Cyborg, at least from this one here, I kind of want to see more of the his future in this universe here. So that'd be also another shame too if they didn't proceed with it, because we just got to meet this Cyborg in the Flash and stuff. But they are planning on doing another Flash movie, so I don't know how they're going to make this all work or what they're going to do. Hopefully, the success of this will draw Ben Affleck back out to do more, and Zack Snyder as well. Maybe they'll get that momentum and propel him forward, right?
Ben Affleck, if you're listening, man, come back and be Batman. I mean, I take it back. I wasn't on board with Ben Affleck either. Not at all. Like when I heard he was going to be Batman, I was like, Ben Affleck, really? Yeah. All I can think of is like the Kevin Smith movies, and I was like, I can't see this guy as Batman.
But we all expected Matt Damon to be Robin, but you know, hey, you were wrong. You were wrong.
maybe the sequel, guys.
Giving out chocolate handshakes.
Well, I will say this as a negative. One character I did not care for, and I've actually come to a conclusion on this one: the Joker. You know what, Jared Leto? Nah, I don't care for it. After that little trailer, like little teaser there, I was like, okay, let's give him one more shot, give him one go around. The little epilogue scene with him on there, I didn't care for it. It was kind of awkward, kind of cringy. I mean, granted, I know it was like a rated R movie, but the whole like reach around line, I was like, really? And I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that line I could have done without, but yeah. I don't know. Jeez, I had to interject here just because I like that back and forth. Like, yeah, the reach around line, yeah, a little much. But I like the back and forth just because I am a Batman fan, and obviously his biggest foil is the Joker, and it kind of redeemed his Jared Leto's Joker as well. You see that it's going more towards what people envision as the Joker, like kind of like, you know, this crazy guy, and not the whole tattooed kind of like gangster with the grill, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, and there was actually a scene that showed more of the Joker in the Snyder Cut, but that was cut out. So I'm kind of interested to see what that scene was as well. So I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. I did like that little interjection of the Joker and him in the nightmare sequence, and also when he said, "Hey, I'm gonna fucking kill you," I'm like, "Hey, that's a naughty word, Batman."
What about you, Rich? Am I alone here? Was I the only one that kind of cringed at that whole scene? I don't know. I didn't care for it.
No, it was awkward, but the Joker is kind of awkward. True. I'm not on board with a lot of people saying they want to see a Batman and Joker movie with those two. I'm not on board for that. Yeah. Who I would actually like to see a little bit more is Deathstroke. I like that actor and I like that character. He's kind of just a badass. Like, you know what I mean? That's who I would like to see if Zack Snyder comes back for a DC movie. Dude, take on a Deathstroke movie. That'd be rad.
Well, that was supposed to be the actual Batman sequel, the standalone Batman, and not Batman versus Superman. It was going to be Batman versus Deathstroke. That's really? That's why they teased Deathstroke with that little thing with Lex Luthor. And before that little cutscene was Lex Luthor was going to introduce the Legion of Doom. But for the Snyder Cut, they instead of saying I'm going to create the Legion of Doom, he says he's Bruce Wayne. And that's supposed to kick off the standalone Batman sequel that Ben Affleck was actually going to direct and produce and star in. But then he pulled out when kind of like the backlash from Batman versus Superman came out, and then Justice League came out. So then that's when he pulled out.
Well, maybe that's encouraging. Maybe that means once he sees the praise that this movie's getting, which I seem to sense from seeing online, that he'll, like I said, he'll get encouraged again to do it again. Another character too. I mean, they talked about it. You know, obviously teasing up to the movie. Martian Manhunter. Again, another character that I'm not really super familiar with from the comics. How did you guys feel about that? The little cameo there, like midway and then at the end.
Well, technically at the very end, when Martian Manhunter came to Bruce Wayne's little lake house pad, Zack Snyder said he wanted that to be the Green Lantern because the Green Lantern is more towards an OG member of the Justice League. However, even the studio giving him so much leash on this Snyder Cut, they kind of put the foot down and said, no, don't make that Green Lantern because we have plans for Green Lantern. So, you know, but he was really pushing for it. He actually wanted to bring in Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern for that. So, but the studio was like, all right, no, we can't give you that one.
We buried that version.
Yeah, we can't give you that one. But I don't have a problem with Martian Manhunter because he is an integral part of the Justice League as well. So it was nice to introduce him, and also that he was already kind of in the universe when in Batman versus Superman as well.
Right. Yeah, and some of the rumors are that Snyder actually got that idea from the fans, right? They were speculating that what's his name, Swaynick, the general, was Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, it was John Jones.
All right, guys. So let's get into X Factor. Okay. Al, why don't you go and kick it off in terms of X Factor? What do you get? What'd you give it?
X Factor, I gave it a 9 out of 10. Because man, everybody loves a good redemption story, right? Take your pick. The redemption for this movie, redemption for Zack Snyder, redemption for these characters, these actors, the redemption for the whole damn DC universe.
Yeah.
So
right.
take your pick. You gotta love that. And yeah, it definitely what I was hoping for. It erased the memory of that god awful Whedon one. And I know I've been kind of hard on Whedon, but from what I read, he's a very unprofessional and very hard to work with. So maybe he deserves it. And man, it just brought everything, and it brought more stand up and cheer moments than the Whedon version. Because the Whedon version, when I first saw the Whedon version, my face was literally like this the entire time. But for this one, oh man, if this was in the theater, I would have been whooping and hollering. And so when Black Suit Superman came and blocked Steppenwolf's axe, I was like, there you go, you in trouble now, son. And I
was gonna say redemption for everyone but Steppenwolf, right?
Pretty much. He got his head chopped off by my baby Godot.
That was a great kill shot.
Yeah, it was definitely way better than the kill of the Whedon version where he just got eaten by his parademon. So weird.
You smell that? That's fear.
Yeah. But I couldn't give it a perfect 10 out of 10 just because how I usually give movies that I like. Just because, and Rich brought it up, I just didn't like the 4:3 format. It really annoyed me at first, and I definitely get why he did it. His vision was that this was supposed to be an IMAX, but hey, I get it. If it's ever released in IMAX, guess what? I'm sitting my ass in the IMAX theater for 4 hours also. Hopefully there's breaks in between. And yeah, so 9 out of 10, and I cannot wait that hopefully, from the general consensus, everyone's having a big circle jerk for this movie, and I guess I'm joining in. So hopefully this fandom could maybe how it got the Snyder Cut actually even released and made. Hopefully it'll get the hashtag restore Snyder-verse back, and hopefully we'll get to see Justice League 2. We'll get to see Justice League 3, which is going to be their end game, which Darkseid comes with his armada, and it's going to be all of Earth, literally all of Earth versus Darkseid. And man, we deserve that.
Right on. What about you, Rich? What'd you give it in terms of X Factor?
I gave it a 10. I mean, this is the DC universe that I wanted to see, which I was hoping to see. Like, it's more mature, it's more adult. It has a darker. I really like darker tone movies. Like, I like that dark undertone where
you're a dark guy.
Well, no, not really. I'm kind of happy. I smile a lot, but I like that background underlooming threat. You know what I mean? Where it feels real instead of
feels dangerous.
A character. And yes, it feels dangerous. But I give it a 10. He did a great job. Part of me wish he never did this, because if the movies don't come out, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, if he doesn't, if Snyder-verse doesn't come back, I want to see Superman be a bad guy. I want to see him go bad, and I want to see them try to stop Superman, because he's essentially a god on Earth. Like, who's gonna stop
Lois is
Batman?
the key.
Yeah,
Lois is the key. Batman always stops him. But it just sucks because the Snyderverse might not go on. But I still gave it a 10. He did a great job.
One thing I am glad that they didn't give Snyder his way again too is unlike the Green Lantern, which I thought would have been pretty cool, is not doing the love story between Batman and Lois. I'm glad they put the kibosh on that one. So if there's one thing they got right, I think they got that one right. But man, Al's really changed. I mean, if you watch some of our earlier episodes, he was handing out those 10s like, man, just like left and right, like they're going out of style.
I could change. Everyone could change.
2021, this guy is getting real chisky all of a sudden. He's hanging on to those $10 bills. He don't want to give them out, but I gave it an 8.
Really coming into his own.
Yeah, really, right? I don't know if it's the old man Al. He's just he's got a tiny
pandemic changed me.
Yeah, he's definitely
he got too many 10s. He's broke now.
I guess so. But yeah, I ended up giving it an 8. Yeah, it lives up to the hype, you know, it really did. And I was worried I was going in with too high of expectations, and to be honest, it kind of exceeded them for me. So
absolutely,
just definitely disappointed if we don't get to see Justice League 2 and 3. But unless they get the whole gang back together, kind of like we did tonight, then I kind of understand it, you know. But overall score, I gave it an 84. What'd you guys give in terms of overall scores? And we'll wrap this up.
Very close to you. I gave it an 86 out of 100.
Okay, there you
go. Same with me. My overall score was an 86.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, and it sucks. Like, and we were talking about it gives a lot of what ifs. What if this version was released in the theater? I mean, he laid the groundwork for literally the whole DC universe and for movies to come. literally 3-4 movies thereafter. So yeah, we get a lot of what ifs, and like Rich was saying, also, we may never know. We may never know.
For those of you guys watching at home, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. How did this movie, meet your expectations? Did it exceed them? Was there any parts you were disappointed in? Are you like us? You guys looking forward to hopefully maybe seeing an additional Justice League? The visions that Snyder had, and how can we pressure Snyder into doing more?
Yeah.
How many more plays we got to
$70
rent?
million.
Yeah. I mean, he's his interviews, because he was pretty much a one-man campaign for Snyder Cut. So in all his interviews, he's been kind of coy and saying that, hopefully we could go on.
Never
like
say
I
never.
have all this planned out. So
Yeah.
I like that he kind of gave out what his plan was to kind of get us ravenous about like what's to come. I mean, hey, Superman and Lois Lane's like kid's gonna be the new Batman. I mean, he dropped that hint.
I
Then he
know.
dropped like what all future storylines. I mean,
Batman's gonna die.
yeah, like
holy shit.
he knows that this fan base is rabid, and he knows that he right now, with it being such a hit, he could direct these people. He could attack them. He could like set these attack dogs on the studio and all that. So yeah, man.
Gang of parademon fans after.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like
Warner Brothers.
screeching. I'm gonna be screeching at Warner Brothers after this, or at the very least, HBO Max.
Well,
Give
I
Batman
think it's safe to say the
own-
Nightcap is on board for the Snyder-verse. And we
Yeah.
want more of it. So who's ever watching, anybody from Warner Brothers, go ahead and smash the like button. All right. And then make get the budget and everything ready for the next movie. All right. Because we're ready to go. All right. We're chomping at the bit. So yeah.
I'll bet you $5 right now. All right.
Exactly. So to Zack Snyder and to his family, especially the
Zack
personal stuff that
Snyder.
he had going on, everything
Well,
there, and mental health awareness, all that stuff. Props to him and that.
And honestly, to Warner Brothers too. They let it happen. I
Yeah.
mean, remake movies. Who does that?
Yeah,
I mean-
exactly. Very cool. So from the Nightcap, we'll call it a night. And thanks everybody for joining us. And catch you on the next one. Peace.
See you guys next time.